Hi, I'm Brian Harmon, and we are Harmonizing Humanity. And today we have a very special guest, Anna Derby, and she has some amazing stories to tell. And since this program is about how each person can make the world a little bit better, Anna Derby is our perfect guest because she has done a lot to make this place a lot better.
Thank you.
But our first question here is, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, where you came from, your parents, that sort of thing?
I came from South Korea 36 years ago, and I was born and raised there. I came from the big family with a mom and dad, very hardworking.
Oh, that's very good. It's good to hear. So tell us a little bit about your parents.
They were just ordinary, mom and dad, but they didn't have a special education or special background, so they had to work to get the, living, the feeding a family, and they have 7 children. And 7 children. And I remember their goal was to send us all the highest education if they could. And for not having a special skills or education and working as just a small business owner, and I watched they work just day and night, 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. And so we kind of came from the very learned the lesson of hard working to make this living. So I think even though we didn't have that lot of privilege, but I'm very grateful to learn the life lesson from them.
Right. That's very good. You mentioned that they have a small business, and I wonder if you could tell us what kind of business that was?
They owned a small grocery store, so that means they had to go to wholesale place, get the fresh items every day. And they didn't have any other people helping except the mom and dad. And they were just 7 days a week, 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. We're thinking now it's amazing how you can do that. So that's how we grew up with.
Well, at least with 7 children, they had plenty of people to work in the grocery store. No, you just went to school?
Not really, because we were all in school, and they believe in education, so they sent my oldest brother to the best school they can possibly think of, and he went on and he went to school, then he went to work. So nobody really, family member, they didn't expect anyone to help their store. They want us to just pay attention in what we were doing in school, get a good education. Right. Because they didn't have a good education. So they thought that would be the best gift they could give it to the kids.
Right. So they were willing to work double hard so that you wouldn't have to take time away from your school, because education was number one.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. So would you like to tell us about your coming to the United States?
When, I always grew up with dreams and hopes. I always thought I would be someone. So I worked hard and I got a good education. Then I got married and have 2 children. When that didn't work out, I was in my back was against the wall. And I have a half-sister who came to United States before I did. So she recommended, what if you would like to come? And America is just, second chance country. So that I said, okay, if you would let us come, please. So that's how we came in United States with my 2 kids and me, with a one-way ticket. And I knew I would never go back to their country. So just a one-way ticket, let's go. At least we heard not only this, a lot of the movie and the story, I knew that the education is free in here up until like a university. That caught me. That really got this. Okay, this is a chance.
Yeah, that's your kind of place.
That's my kind of place.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, that's super. It's like the story about the immigrant who comes here with basically nothing
Right.
and makes good.
Pretty much didn't have that much.
So, yeah, why don't you tell us some more about your family, like your sister that came over first? What did she do? And
I have a half brother and half sister, and they came in way before I did, and they settled. So when my marriage didn't work out, there was their recommendation, because I didn't have any way to. I would be able to send my kids to school in Korea. I had an education, but it was tough for me to get a job after you become a mother or special skills. I majored in education and psychology, and that didn't do well in the employment market there. So so I followed their recommendation, and I really also wanted to go someplace and start all over. Because I didn't have I didn't see any future there.
Right. Yeah, and at that time, when we think of South Korea, we think of a bustling economy. But back then, South Korea was not bustling very well. It was the Korean War just totally crushed the country. All the industries that they had were flattened, and a lot of the houses, and so things were tough in Korea there back in those days.
Right.
So when your parents sacrificed to give you an education, they were really sacrificing.
Yeah.
And since schools were so expensive in Korea, by coming here, you could give your kids the education that your parents gave you, but yet it wouldn't cost you a fortune like it would cost in Korea.
Right.
That's very interesting. Very interesting.
Back then, we would have to pay tuitions and expenses and stuff that they need, even elementary school. Parents would have to supply that. And junior, high school, of course the college. So education was very expensive for the parents. And when I found out over here, elementary school, junior and high, you don't have a tuition. Wow, what kind of country is it?
Yes, what a country!
Right.
That's my old friend.
And then also the learn from the lesson. My parents, they would do everything to give an education to kids. I learned that. That was my same. So I would feel like I would have needed them to have a best education, but I didn't have any way to do it.
Very
in my
interesting.
country. So it was my dream to come over here, and if you work hard, and you could get it. That's what I was told. If you work hard, there's always a way to do it. And that was my dream.
Yeah, I had the privilege of getting to know a comedian who came over here from what was then the Soviet Union. And in his comedy routine, every paragraph ended with "What a country!" And he wrote his name was Yakov Smirnov.
Okay.
So it doesn't really sound like a real name. I mean, who has the name of a liquor for their last name, right?
Yeah.
But he was Yakov Smirnov, and he wrote a book called America on 6 rubles a day, which is like nothing, right?
Right.
And he told it, and every page, I think he said, "What a country!" A country where there are 200 different types of cereal on the cereal.
Right.
I actually counted them. I didn't count them, but I counted how many are in one row and counted the number of rows.
Yeah.
I think there was close to 200 types of cereal in Stater Brothers Market.
Yeah.
It's like, what a country, Anywhere else, two, three maybe, or in Russia, one, right? If you don't want cereal, don't buy the cereal.
Right.
But the Soviet Union back then. But so yeah, your experience. You could write a book on America. What kind of money do they have in Korea? What do they call the Korean dollar?
Won, W-O-N.
Yeah, America on 12 yuan a day.
I think about dollar would be about 1,001.
1,000
Yeah,
won.
that's how the rate.
Yeah.
Yeah, is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of Asian countries, except for Japan, things are much cheaper than here. Is that true in Korea, or is it about the same? Or
It's expensive there, you know, because say like in America, if you spend the grocery from your total gross income, you will pay less in here than other countries pay more for grocery,
Okay.
just food. That's I guess the lifestyle or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing we noticed when we were in the Philippines, I'm not sure if it's the same in Korea, but if you buy local food like Filipinos buy, everything's really cheap.
Okay.
But if you buy American food like we're used to, it's very expensive.
Of course, yeah.
It's just incredibly expensive. So you have a choice. You want to live on a low budget, or you want to pay a fortune to live over there. And so we mostly, but the great thing there was that labor was so cheap that you could have a helper that would either live with you or in your house or come in a few hours a day. And so we had a helper, and she bought at the local market, so we had fresh mangoes every day, or mango as they call them there. And my favorite food in the world is ginger.
Oh.
I hated it as a kid, but I love it now. And so, but my wife Dee and our daughter Kelly hated this stuff. So she would make 2 dishes, one with ginger in it, one without ginger in it. Every day I had ginger, they had no ginger. It's like, what a country for me. So when you came to the United States, everything was different, huh?
Of course.
And the language, you didn't know English much, right?
The language was the most difficult thing to overcome, because we had an English class every day, but we never had a chance to practice a conversation. So you had to learn from the beginner, just like a child. And as an adult, you picking up the language is never easy. So there was a tough time. You know, you had to swallow it and get through it. It took a few years to be able to, comfortable to have the conversation. And like I said, nobody would give me the chance to work the place I would want to work because of the language problem. So I just wait on table, and I work at the restaurant a few years before I got a job at a local bank.
Yeah, it's like the education system in the U.S., where you can study Spanish for 4 years, and at the end of 4 years of high school Spanish, you can't speak Spanish. You might know how to conjugate all the verbs in the world, but you can't say, hello, how are you? I'm fine. Yeah, but that's true in so many countries. You can read and write English really well, but speaking it's just impossible, since we talk so crazy anyway. So how did you go about learning English when you got here? As waiting on tables,
I went to adult school for a short time, but I had to work, so I just, thrown into the working environment, and it was fine. Looking back, that was the best opportunity, because of working at the coffee shop, restaurant, dealing with the people, taking an order, and cooking what they would like to have a breakfast, which is very complicated. So that's how I picked up the language. About 4 or 5 years later, I kind of wanted to move on, because I thought I wanted to take a weekends off, holiday off with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a job at
And health benefits,
yeah,
all
benefits,
that stuff.
and,
Yes.
and didn't realize that there was out there. So people gave me a lot of advice. But it took about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, and that's when you got a job with the bank.
Yes.
Tell us about some of your experiences there.
The local bank I work for, it's in Rossmore Farmers Merchant Bank. Started as a teller, of course, counting of money, but you got to meet the people and learn about the life, and also learning a culture, dealing with a lot of different people. So then I move on, and I retire as a lending specialist.
A lending specialist.
Yeah, then
Wow.
also secretary of a manager. So I'm proud of my accomplishment in 20 years.
Wow.
And learn the real American people's the life and how they handle their living and how they can have this wonderful retirement, especially retirement living. When I found out, wow, wonderful. I wonder if I can follow their step.
Right.
So it was a good lesson for me. It was just best place I can learn this American, the middle class people.
Right.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for that opportunity.
That's great. That's great. Farmers and Merchants Bank. Yeah. The headquarters in Long Beach.
Yes.
Family-owned company.
Yes.
Yeah. Very good.
4th generation or 5th generation.
4 generations. Right.
Yeah.
And they say they're the strongest in California, which is pretty true. They keep as a percentage of their assets, they keep a lot in the vault.
Right. Yeah.
So if the banks start closing, they would be the last one. Yeah. Unlike the big ones that well, we won't go into that though. So tell us about. I understand that going up in the bank required that you get some more education. Is that true?
When I was working as a teller, it was no problem. But when I wanted to move on to different, I love the challenge, by the way. So I always want to go better, or a different opportunity comes and I take it. So there was an opportunity came in, become a lending specialist, and they said, oh, your language and vocabulary, I don't know if you will be able to do it. So I promised I'll do my best, and whatever requirement, I'll do that. So I attended a community college for communication class for 2 semesters to fulfill my requirement. But I learned so much about the people's handling of money. That's real. You can learn that from anywhere, not even class. But I learned by working, getting paid, and learned that great lesson.
Right.
When I came in United States 36 years ago, not only I believed in myself, I would work whatever it takes. I believe in my 2 kids, and they would work hard and become someone. And last 36 years, yes, they did. And in United States, there's a lot of opportunities, but kids who are born in here, they don't realize how lucky they are. And my 2 kids, they realize that. So even though it wasn't easy for them to pick up the language and do their schoolwork, and they really work hard, and they got best education you can ask in United States, and they both become a wonderful citizen, and we are just extremely happy here, and that's my the most proud, my accomplishment, and my family turned out to be the healthy and happy and always grateful for this country, offer for us the second chance.
Wonderful. So what kind of business are your kids in?
My daughter Jane, she majored in business management in Pepperdine University with a scholarship, academic scholarship, and she went on that business, and she's been working same industry, movie, business and marketing, about 25 years. And I heard that she's very accomplished in that business. So then my son majored the finances in Loyola Marymount. Of course, it's a academic scholarship, and he's been working ever since. So I couldn't ask any better, kids.
Fantastic.
And my daughter has two beautiful girls. So that's all I have, two grandkids.
Mm-hmm. So that's part of your gift to the world.
Of course.
Oh yeah, one thing I was gonna say. A lot of people think of working at a bank as being a boring job and just the worst thing in the world. I mean, we watch TV. If I work at a bank, it's like. But yet you saw that as a way of engaging with people, and I think I suspect that as a financial specialist that you were able to help people, and even as a teller, sometimes someone can have an unusual problem, and you can say, "Oh, we don't deal with that," or you can go, let me see if I can help you with that, and really not just make their day, but to make their lives better. That's so exciting. And the thing that we have in common is that I wanted desperately to be, they call them a loan officer when I was looking for it, but the State Department has something called the Foreign Service, and I wanted to get into that. I mean, that seemed to me like, master's degree in economics. I mean, certainly they would want me to represent our country in the State Department. And I found out the thing they were most desperate for was people who knew economics and banking. And I'm going, okay, I know economics, but not banking. And they said, oh, if you're a loan officer, we will, you're at the top of the list. So I went to all the banks and sent my resume out, but I found it wasn't that easy to get in. Oh, one place wanted to hire me for a management training, but they said I would have to start as a teller. And I said, no, I'm sorry, I'm going to be the world's worst teller anywhere. And they said, well, you don't have to be a good teller. You just have to be there. But I'm going, no, if I'm the world's worst teller, you're not going to promote me to management, right? I go, okay, give the person money, and they go, no, I gave you a 20, and I go, oh, okay. I wouldn't know if they gave me a 20 or not, right? Or if they could say they gave me 100, I wouldn't remember. And I would count the money, instead of going, I go, 1, 2. They'd say, I want a different teller, let me out of here, this guy is crazy. So I didn't. In household finance company, they asked me, do you want a staff position or a line position? And I'm going, okay, what's the right answer here? I don't think I knew the difference between a staff position and a line position. So, but they had me because when we were sitting in the office, they had practical lending magazines, and they had a magazine there with an article by the head of the Federal Reserve talking about the economy. And when the interviewer came out, he saw I was reading the interview with the head of the Federal Reserve talking about the economy. So when I got inside, he mentioned that to me, and I'm going, busted. And he's thinking, this guy doesn't want to be a manager of a household finance office, and then 6 offices, and then 100 offices. I want to be in there, doing the economics end of it, right? Saying, oh yeah, the economy is going to be in the upswing in the next 6 months or whatever. So I didn't get to be a lending officer, and didn't get to be a foreign service officer, which is probably good, because I probably would have not met the best woman in the world that I could have ever met if I was a foreign service officer traveling around the world. But let's see, do you want to tell us some more? Oh yeah, you told us about the kind of jobs that you have and how you enjoy your children. Oh yes, you've been here at Leisure World for how many years now?
Over 20 years.
20 years, okay.
That's the,
Well, why don't you tell us about some of the stuff that you've done in the
Okay.
past 20 years?
Here, I got into Korean American Club.
Right.
Then they promoted me as a treasurer. They found out I work at the bank. Obviously.
I was going to say, I can't imagine why they would pick you as the treasurer.
So I served the total 5 years, 2 years as a treasurer, 1 year as a vice president, and 2 years as a president. Then same time, almost same time, I served the Multicultural Council. We had it since 2006. So I served the either 7 or 8 until 2014, until they discontinue. So I dealt with many people. Then I met a lot of people. What I found out is they just not familiar with this community. And that caused a lot of issue. Also, different ethnic group have a different culture. So they had a hard time to understand each other. That was my thought.
Right,
So somebody has to do something to bring this different ethnic group together. And that was my idea to start the Sunshine Club.
Okay, it kind of grew out of the Multicultural Council.
Right.
Okay.
Two things, those two organizations, my experience brought me, we needed some kind of place to get together beyond your different ethnic group, and let's kind of try to find out this community, how that works, and get more information and have a better communication. And that was the, I studied in Sunshine Club.
Okay, so tell us about the Sunshine Club.
What, as I said, I started with knowing we need to know more about this community activities, not only the procedure and rules and regulations.
Right.
So that's how I started thinking more non-English speaking people come and read the newspaper, learn what's happening in this community, but eventually right now, I have about 95% my member are English speaking.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I would like to have more people, non-English speaking people, but you know, that's beyond my control.
Sure,
Right.
sure, it's up to them.
Yeah, people love our program. So.
Yeah, I understand that one of the things that you do is that you go through the newspaper, the Leisure World newspaper, so they learn what's happening here, and they might see something that they never thought of before. They go, wow, I'd like to take an art class or something, and you expand their horizons into something they might have never thought about before.
Yeah.
And in the process, they learn that learning English is the key to this whole thing here. Yeah, right. Very good.
And of course they can go to other class and outside, but to me we have many classes they're offering, and in this right in your backyard. So why don't we just participate it here and broaden your horizon and learn more later your retirement living. And I always believe in learning until day you die. So that's my philosophy. You learn until you die. And I always like to take a new thing. One thing, something you haven't done before. You haven't had an opportunity before. So that's what I always love to do.